With this project, I sought to support emerging producers to start this training in CACD, capabilities and leadership skills for emerging producers in Western Sydney.
The CACD training is really a multi-layered professional development for people who are working in community arts and cultural development or who want to work in that field.
I think the cohort in the group, there's been a lot of mixed kind of experiences being in community. So some of us have kind of come up through it, being participants, turning into facilitators. Some came in as just curators and producers who are looking to further their education. So when we came into the course, it was kind of part education, part professional development.
I've never experienced training like this before. Even calling it training feels a bit strange because it's been quite a lot more than that. Like the format has been really varied, and so we're being able to learn about CACD practice from completely different angles.
Community arts and cultural development. It's about building art and culture, but when you're doing it, the most important part is not the outcome, it's the process. It's how people are able to make culture and make art.
Working with community isn't just about like planning something and then inviting them or teaching them a skill. It's about giving them the autonomy to make their own decisions.
I think that's the most important part of CACD, is that it's for and by community.
It builds up the community. It's not about the artist and it's not about the outcomes, and it really flattens the structure between the workers, the artists and the community all involved together.
In that sense, CACD practice draws on its history of advocacy, of representation, of self-definition, and today CACD is, I think, good practice CACD puts community at the centre.
We as community arts workers are agents of change because we work closely with the needs and the desires of community members.
It really ties everything together and provides a framework about how we deliver programs, how we are culturally safe and respectful, how we allow people into a safe space for them to then be free to express themselves.
CACD is a really important practice for communities not only to speak on their own terms, but to heal, to come together in solidarity and to build each other so that we create a world where we don't have to bear witness to the kinds of violence we're witnessing at the moment.
What was pretty unique about the beginning phase of this program was a partnership with TAFE for accredited trauma-informed practice.
And that was around trauma-informed practice and all the things that come along with that. I think we did like accidental counseling and trauma and intersectionality and principles of CACD.
What we have is a new generation of brilliant workers who, as a foundational practice, have trauma-informed approaches in this work. And that's really important because a lot of the participants will be working with communities who have collective trauma.
And so it was really great to have like vocabulary to discuss what it means to have a trauma-informed practice when it comes to spaces where you're being creative, and how to keep that in mind as you're going through your processes, because often that can get lost a lot of the time when you're working on something with an outcome, because you're just thinking about the outcome and you're not thinking about the impact that it's having on the people who are involved.
So even from the very first session, when Paula said that she approaches CACD from a human rights perspective and that every person has a right to participate in culture, really blew my mind, because I think even though I as a person know arts and culture is important, there is so much in the world that tells you that arts and culture is secondary.
It really fills a gap in the sector, and trauma-informed is a transferable skill. So the foundation of this program was really about developing ethical trauma-informed practice so that when we're interacting with communities and building capacities of communities, we're doing that in culturally safe and ethical ways.
Having the masterclass practitioners have come in has been really eye-opening, and seeing the way that they've sustained a hugely impactful practice over decades, and seeing what that has meant for their lives and the lives of the people that they've worked with has been really amazing.
The deaf awareness experience was the first time for many people who attended that workshop to be in a space where there's silence, there is not verbal language, being part of a dynamic where sound is switched off, and interactive activities where all of us had to participate in communicating with each other without verbalizing by sound was challenging and had a lasting impact on some of our participants having an insight into community members they had never connected with before.
Definitely. For me, Safdar's workshops really stood out amongst the whole course. He talked about his experience with working with refugees and using sketch and fine art and drawings and all these things to tell the stories. And it just reminded me that, your values are really who you are, and his really seep into his work, into his art, and that inspires me to do the same.
When he was talking about it, I just had this realization where I was like, I am overthinking this project, because really it doesn't have to be this big grand thing. It can be really as simple as just basic pens and ink pens and paper and just a small space.
Like, I'm such a big fan. I even bought the book Still Alive and read it afterwards. It's just a very inspiring project to me. It has a lot of care and it has a lot of dedication, and it really incorporates trauma-informed practice.
I think another penny drop moment for me was when we were working with Claudia Chidiac. So pretty much she worked with the youth and young kids to create like this massive event day. And I was just listening to stories about how she let the kid choose whatever they want to do. Like, they were in control of the day, and they pretty much told the adults what to do. And I was like, that's so empowering. And it really showed that, if you give people the power, no matter how old or young they are or where they come from, I think that's the crux of CACD, pretty much giving people the autonomy to do what they want.
Something that really stood out with me was, she said, why do you do this? What is your reason why? I guess I hadn't really thought of it in depth the way that she explained it, because she explained her why, and then I got kind of emotional thinking of why we do what we do, and I just thought, what a beautiful way to push us further into creating stuff, but with a purpose, and not just doing things for the face of a program, the depth of it. So that was a big standout.
Claudia Chidiac talked about how being creative is brave, the bravery to be creative, and that also really stuck with me. And I think CACD really has that innate bravery in it, because it is taking the world as it is and taking the systems as they are and going, we can break through of this. We just have to find a creative way to do so.
With Trey, it brought in yet another art form. Trey's talking about music making, lyric writing, working with Pacifica communities specifically, and also coming from a time where, in her experience, there were very few female identifying hip-hop artists in Western Sydney. I think people also enjoyed doing a lyric writing exercise with her, and she had a gentle approach that really drew people in.
But I'm glad that there's mentors and there's spaces like this where we get to share and reflect and learn from each other. Because a lot of the times the arts workers or the CACD workers are by themselves in these spaces and they're dealing with so much. We had two amazing women in this space today. We had Paula and Alissar, you know, who are amazing, and I'm so glad I got to sit in and share with them, who were integral to my journey as a worker in this space. And then in the group was a young person who'd attended my workshops when he was 17 as a music artist, and now he's out there doing that work. So there's almost 3 generations of CACD practice right there. It became a critical practice to have an open session every second meeting. So that means that once a month we had a masterclass, and once a month we had what we called critical conversation. Quite often we would have key prompts of questions, and the table was open for people to put on the agenda or to organically bring up stories that they wanted to discuss.
Every time we meet, someone else in the group opens up in a way that they haven't before, and it's usually in the way of seeking advice from the group about real life happening in the now circumstances that they feel like CACD practice needs to be applied. So it's almost like this mentoring sounding board that we've created with each other.
So, Ghoul Collective work with Paula de Prado, and they work on fiber arts projects. So felt, embroidery, crochet, yeah, so learning new skills, working together.
Amazing to see how the women are connected with themselves, but the artwork, what they do, how it helps mentally, emotionally, like just overall what art can do.
It's really nice. I think it just emphasises the importance of sharing stories and creating space in a community arts environment.
Rachelle and I are doing our internship here at UTP alongside Eddie as our mentor. It's been really great working with Eddie as an artist who's also an arts worker, someone who's very dedicated to making sure that people's voices are heard, not only their stories.
It's a little different from the other projects, but we're sort of producing a project to eventually write for a grant for, but the whole gist of it is to make a space or a program for youth Palestinians. There's been a lot of great ideas, but yeah, it's essentially just a holding space, and the CACD project has been a great inspiration for me for that, where I really want to create a similar space.
Esky and I have been doing our placement with Miranda at Curious Works on the Everything is Writing program. We're still here, so it's a LGBTQIA+ edition of the Everything is Writing workshop series.
Miranda's such a great facilitator, coming with such creative ideas to engage with young artists, but also in a way that just doesn't flex their creativity bone, but yeah, if I can say, it's political, and it is standing up for social justice, and that's the stuff that I want to do and love it.
As you can see, we're currently sitting in the space of the Within Heaven and Earth exhibition. We were working together with FCMG to pretty much do like a community event day in response to this exhibition. And so we're producing the Garden of Joy event.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We have a lot of workshops, like a lantern workshop and stamp workshop and a paper cut workshop. We have Tai Chi and we have Vietnamese senior dance.
Yeah, so basically the event celebrates Southeast Asian and East Asian artists who are working in Western Sydney. And so we brought in a lot of community members. And so we're like trying to listen to what the community wants and incorporate it into this event day.
So we are working on a project at Blacktown Arts, collaborating with Older Women's Network, who are a community group here in Blacktown.
And because we're in the early stages of the planning, I think for Divya and I to be put into a space like this where we're working as collectives very on the streets, so to see it from a different lens and everything's like so proper in an office space. I think that's like what Divya and I really needed, just to see that other lens And of you.
So we have been connecting with Belinda at Starts, and Belinda has already done this really incredible groundwork around having conversations with community members about what a healthy relationship looks like. Belinda came to us at PYT Fairfield. The idea was to create a piece of work that looked at those scenarios and looked at those challenges around things that are often brought up in community that are limiting or stopping people from having healthy relationships.
I feel really privileged to be doing that at PYT. Seeing their ways of working has been incredibly inspiring and really syncs up with the community-centered, kind of egalitarian ways of working that underpin the CACD work we've been doing side by side with this.
So for the CACD training, I did my placement at Blacktown Arts Center with Little Orange Studio, which is a studio space that works specifically with artists with disability. And it was so wonderful to see, like, what is the dream for a space for artists? One where it's people are coming in on a regular basis. They've been coming in for like over a decade, which I think is amazing. Our placements are only a couple of days, but it really made me go, oh, I want to keep coming back and I want to have a relationship with this space and with the artists here, because I can see that this is important.
So I'm here at Blacktown Arts Centre with the Powerhouse Museum. It's a program called We've Kiribati, and it's working with the community, the local Kiribati community, and learning weaving techniques and basically assisting them within their program. No, so I manage Aboriginal weavers within Campbelltown Arts Centre, so it's actually been really refreshing to speak to the Kiribati community here and learn some of their techniques and what they use and how we can actually share that information between different cultures, and it's really beautiful.
It really felt very holistic in a way that this is not, you know, we're doing it for the community, and this is really coming from a place of understanding, coming from a place of a lot of love as well. I think it feels really wholesome to be part of it, yeah.
The time frame of our community arts training program has happened at a time where there's been a lot of grief and a lot of trauma for our communities. In the first phase of the program, we had a recently arrived community member from Gaza who was part of our team. Sami Tarazi came on with his skill of having been a community development worker in Gaza, and it shone for me that he was implementing physical activities and games that brought joy to the group as well as himself as being part of our team. And for some period of time, it was shrinking the world between us here in Parramatta on Darug land and Gaza and Palestine, because Sami Tarazi was working with us. That to me is an incredibly significant, invisible moment perhaps of this program, that community arts and cultural development means reaching out and looking at who's not in the room and working together.
I've got my CACD hat on now, and I'm so keen to integrate this trauma-informed skill set that will allow me to communicate and also like hold space and create more safety for people as we interact as a community that's growing.
Like I look forward to this like every week, like not only the placement but the CACD training. Like such a great group, and it's such a safe and nurturing environment. So good.
But if I have the project now, I think I will concentrate on the process rather than the product. Yeah, and enjoy to sharing and learning with the community rather than concentrate and finish the product. Yeah.
I feel so much more confident in who I am and what I want to do.
And I know that a lot of us have taken the learnings like back to our peers, our workplaces, to try and solve some of the things that we see occurring that maybe aren't trauma-informed, you become hyper-aware of bad practice and steers you towards being more conscious of these things.
Yeah. For me as well, it was really nice that we were able to apply it almost immediately, like everything that we were learning, because a lot of us are working in these spaces already.
And I feel like the participants also express some of that feeling of doing things instinctively because of their care and how they work with communities, and now they can name those things.
I think it's also been nice that we've been able to meet a few different people who are working in the field and kind of realise that there is a blueprint for the kind of work that we want to do in the future.
Paula, Alissar, Yamane been so generous enough to provide such a wealth of knowledge to all of us.
They've been working for years and years, and I think it's really great to see their experiences and learn from them and to kind of take that away and incorporate it into your own work.
But then we can actually go out and have strategies to actually go out and provide for community and create those safe spaces, because that's the most important thing.
There was a lot of talk today about passing the baton from Paula and Alissar to us as the newer generation coming through, and it really does feel like that. I think a lot of us, or myself at least, I'm really early into the arts sector and this world, and to have this experience and training so early in this journey is invaluable, and it feels like this is setting such a great foundation for where we're going to be in 10 years.
Yeah, I think I feel like a real sense of responsibility now that I have this knowledge to keep going and continue on working in this space.
And that is probably something that I feel quite proud about, that this program with its different layers really modelled a long-term CACD program.
Certainly what's developed over time is what I consider a community of practice. And that's so vital to share knowledge, to share networks, to share stories. And I think it's fantastic. Each and every one of the participants has contributed to making this a safe space, a nourishing space. I feel really blessed to have been part of contributing to building a community of practice on Darug land.
It's about hope, and it's about seeing this new generation of CACD practitioners in Western Sydney with this cohort of most wonderful, ethical, really conscious human beings that are giving us hope that the sector is in good hands.